Welcome to this explosive edition of our deep dive into the world of celebrity showdowns, where the line between banter and blowout blurs faster than a tabloid headline. Today, we're unpacking the jaw-dropping moment when comedy titan Ricky Gervais, the man behind The Office and Afterlife, stepped onto the set of ITV's Loose Women expecting a light-hearted chat about his latest Netflix special, only to find himself entangled in a verbal tornado with none other than the fiery Denise Welch. Picture this: it's a crisp autumn morning in London, the studio lights buzzing with that familiar daytime TV glow, and the audience is clapping enthusiastically as Gervais saunters in, his trademark smirk firmly in place, ready to dish on everything from veganism to the absurdities of Hollywood. Loose Women, that venerable panel of outspoken women who've been dissecting life's big and small dramas for over 2 decades, is in full swing, with hosts like Christine Lampard and the ever-opinionated Welch leading the charge. Gervais, at 64, is no stranger to controversy. His Twitter rants on wokeness and celebrity hypocrisy have racked up millions of views, but this was supposed to be a safe space, a fluffy segment sandwiched between ads for tea bags and pension plans. Oh, how wrong they all were. As the cameras roll, the conversation kicks off innocently, in Ricky joking about his dog's Instagram fame, the panel giggling at his deadpan delivery, but then, like a storm cloud rolling in over the Thames, the topic pivots to cancel culture, that beastly buzzword that's been nipping at Gervais' heels since his Golden Globes monologue left stars squirming in their seats. Welch, 67, a Loose Women veteran since 2002 and a survivor of her own share of public scrutiny, from her bipolar diagnosis to her unapologetic lockdown skepticism, leans in with that signature glint in her eye, and that's when the sparks fly. "Ricky, love, you've built a career on poking fun at the vulnerable," she says, her Geordie accent slicing through the studio chatter like a hot knife through butter. "But isn't it time you reflected on how that lands with folks who've actually lived through the pain you're joking about?" The audience murmurs, a mix of gasps and applause, as Gervais' smirk falters for the first time, his eyes narrowing behind those wire-rimmed glasses. He's faced hecklers in comedy clubs from Edinburgh to LA, but this is different. A woman who's stared down her own demons, from addiction battles to tabloid trolls, calling him out on live telly, with millions tuning in from their sofas over milky coffees. Gervais fires back, his voice that perfect blend of posh and pissed off. "Denise, darling, comedy's meant to punch up, not down, but if we can't laugh at our own messes, what's left? Therapy bills and safe spaces?" The panel erupts in audience, Awalha clutching her pearls, Colleen Nolan nodding vigorously, and suddenly, the segment that's meant to run 5 minutes is stretching into uncharted territory. Producers off-camera frantically signaling through the glass, but Welch isn't backing down. She's the queen of clapbacks, having once halted the show mid-rant over Matt Hancock's "I'm a Celeb" stint, declaring she'd face him in the jungle if it meant accountability. Here, she doubles down. "It's easy for you, Ricky, with your Netflix checks and Hampstead mansion, to quip about trans rights or dead babies. Afterlife's a masterpiece. Don't get me wrong, but some of us have buried friends to the diseases you mock for likes." The studio falls into a stunned hush, the kind that echoes louder than any shout, as Gervais shifts in his seat, that famous wit momentarily weaponized into something sharper, more personal. "Buried friends? I've buried more characters than you've had hot dinners, Denise, and if grief's off limits, then lock up the clowns and cancel Christmas," he retorts, but there's a crack in his armor, a flicker of something raw beneath the sarcasm. Viewers at home are glued, Twitter lighting up with hashtags like #Ricky vs Denise and #Loose Women Meltdown, as clips start circulating faster than gossip at a Vickers tea party. Back in the studio, the other panelists try to media tell Lampard, interjecting with a diplomatic "let's keep it civil" team, but it's like throwing water on a grease fire. Welch, drawing from her own well of pain, recounts a story off the cuff about losing a co-star to addiction, how humor helped her heal but careless jabs reopen wounds, and Gervais, ever the contrarian, counters with a tale from his music days in the 80s, dodging hecklers in dingy pubs who threw more than shade. The exchange escalates, voices overlapping in a cacophony of passion and principle, until finally, as the ad break looms, Gervais stands, mic in hand, quipping, "Well, this has been lovely. It reminds me why I prefer writing to talking." But he doesn't sit. Instead, he strides toward the exit, leaving a stunned panel in his wake, the audience applauding uncertainly as the credits threaten to roll early. Was it a walkout, a producer's cue, or the genuine fracture of two titans clashing over comedy's sacred cows? As the feeds cut to commercial, the internet explodes, memes spawning like rabbits. Gervais as a cartoon storm cloud, Welch wielding a verbal lightsaber, and pundits from The Guardian to GB News weigh in, dissecting every syllable. This wasn't just a spat, it was a seismic shift, reminding us that even in the frothy world of daytime TV, truths get told, toes get stepped on, and legends get legendarily tested. But hold on, folks, because this is just the appetizer. The real feast of fallout is yet to come, as we peel back the layers of what led these two firebrands to this fiery crossroads. Stay tuned as we rewind to the backstories that fueled the frenzy, exploring how Gervais' razor-sharp satire met Welch's unyielding authenticity in a battle for the soul of British humor. To truly grasp the gravity of that studio showdown, we must journey back to the crucibles that forged Ricky Gervais and Denise Welch into the unfiltered forces they are today, two icons whose paths, though divergent, converged in that electric moment under the loose women lights. Gervais, born in 1961 to a working-class family in Reading, Berkshire, was the kid who found solace in laughter amid the grind of factory shifts and council estate realities. His dad a laborer, mum a housewife, scraping by on tea and optimism. By his teens, music called. He fronted pop bands like Shona Dancing, scoring a minor hit with Message in a bottle cover that hinted at the performer beneath the awkward exterior. But it was comedy that claimed him, a late-blooming revelation in his 30s after a stint managing pop acts and dabbling in radio. The Office, co-created with Stephen Merchant in 2001, wasn't just a sitcom, it was a cultural gut punch, skewering corporate drudgery with David Brent's cringeworthy bravado, earning BAFTAs and birthing a transatlantic franchise. From there, Extras, Derek, Afterlife, each a scalpel to society's hypocrisies. Gervais wielding atheism, animal rights, and anti-PC fervor like badges of honor. His stand-up specials, From Humanity to Supernature, pack arenas and streaming charts, raking in laughs laced with lightning rods, jabs at Trump, jabs at vegans who aren't vegan enough, jabs at the woke brigade who, in his view, confuse offense with oppression. Yet, for all his billions in streams, Gervais remains defiantly unstarry. No Oscars schmoozing, just dogs and darts in his London flat. A man who's turned cancellation threats into career rocket fuel, boasting, "I'd rather be cancelled than boring." Across the studio, Denise Welch emerges from a tapestry of triumphs and tempests that could fill a memoir trilogy. Born in 1958 in Tynemouth, Northumberland, she was the theatre kid in a mining town, training at the Drama Centre London before Coronation Street claimed her in 1986 as hapless firebrand Natalie Horrocks, embroiled in love triangles and landlady lore that captivated soap fans. Waterloo Road followed, then The Stage, but Loose Women in 2002 cemented her as Telly's truth teller, her candor on mental health shattering stigmas. Diagnosed bipolar in 1990, she's spoken rawly of electroconvulsive therapy, suicide attempts, In the Bottle's Siren Call, authoring The Unwelcome Visitor to guide others through the fog. Marriage to Tim Healy birthed sons Maddie and Louie, the latter a rising telly star, but divorce led to love with Lincoln Townley, her rock through tabloid storms. Politically, Welch is a lioness, labor loyalist, fierce defender of women's rights, and vocal skeptic of COVID mandates. Her 2020 rants against lockdowns are they're destroying lives more than the virus sparked co-host clashes and viewer vitriol, yet she stood firm, quitting I'm a Celeb in 2011 over manipulated footage but returning to fight another day. Her humor, dry as the Sahara, laced with northern grit. Think savage swipes at Meghan Markle or Matt Hancock, delivered with a wink that disarms even as it wounds. So, when these two sat across from each other, it wasn't mere celebrity crossover, it was ideologies incarnate colliding. Gervais, the atheist showman who sees comedy as catharsis unbound, versus Welch, the survivor who demands empathy in every punchline, Their worldviews a Venn diagram of overlap and outrage. Pre-show buzz had been Electrica producers teasing Ricky on cancel culture. Will he hold back? But no one foresaw the personal pivot. As Gervais settled in, sipping water and scanning the panel, Welch eyed him not as guest but gladiator, her prep notes scribbled with questions on afterlife's widow grief, probing if satire heals or harms. The air thickens as talk turns to his latest special, Armageddon, where he roasts climate doom-mongers and pronoun pedants, drawing cheers from the crowd. Brilliant. Ricky finally someone saying the Emperor's buck naked. Nolan cheers, but Welch interjects, naked, aye, but what about the chill those jokes cast on folks freezing in fear? Gervais chuckles, fear's the real killer, denies he better to laugh it off than lock down in panic, unwittingly threading the needle into her pandemic pain. She recounts colleagues lost to isolation-fueled despair, not the bug itself, her voice cracking just enough to silence laughs. And Gervais, sensing the shift, softens momentarily. Lost mates too, to the bottle during lockdowns. A humor's my therapy, not dormant, but Welch presses, therapy for you, trigger for Thema. Ever think of the collateral? The panel leans in, the audience riveted, as this becomes less interview, more inquisition. Gervais, cornered but cunning, flips it, collateral? Like the celebs collateralized by your show's shade? Call it even. Laughter ripples, but tension coils tighter, Welch's eyes flashing with that warrior spark honed in soap operas and survivor circles. Off-air whispers later reveal producers sweating bullets, fearing a ratings goldmine or PR nightmare, but on air, it's pure, unscripted alchemy. Two souls bearing scars under studio scrutiny. As the clock ticks, Gervais' quips grow quicker, Welch's retorts sharper, building to that inevitable boil-over where wit meets wound. This backstory isn't just context, it's the kindling for the conflagration, showing how personal histories propel public personas into these powder keg moments. And as we edge closer to the eruption, remember, in the arena of ideas, no one's truly kicked off, they're just reloaded for round two. But what happened next would etch this into TV lore, a clash that spilled from set to screens worldwide, with the studio atmosphere crackling like static before a thunderstorm. The heart of the melee unfolds in a torrent of words that blur the boundary between debate and duel, as Gervais and Welch trade barbs that cut deeper than any scripted sitcom sting. It starts subtly, the pivot from praise to probe, as Welch, microphone poised like a rapier, circles back to Gervais' storied Golden Globes hosting gigs to those infamous 2020 and 2023 roasts where he eviscerated Hollywood's elite, calling out Epstein associates and Scientology sycophants with a glee that gleamed under the chandeliers. You had them squirming, Ricky, and good on ya, she concedes, a nod from the woman who's skewered her share of sacred cows. But isn't there a line where mockery mocks the mocked too? Gervais, legs crossed, leans forward, that impish grin masking the gears turning. The lines drawn by snowflakes, denies he crossed it, and you're cancelled. Tow it, and you're tame. I'd rather burn bridges than build boring ones. The audience titters, a wave of approval washing over, but Welch, undeterred, draws from her activist arsenal, invoking trans rights, a topic Gervais has danced with deadly precision in tweets and specials, once musing, if you're trans, good for you, and now let me finish my pint in peace. Pint in peace? She echoes, voice rising an octave. What about the kids questioning their skin because blokes like you joke they're just a phase? I've mates whose daughters are transitioning, scared spitless of bigots online. The word bigots lands like a gauntlet, the panel freezing, a Lampard mouthing woe off Mick, so Walha fanning herself as Gervais' face hardens, the comedian in him spotting the setup for a zinger. The man sensing the sincerity beneath. Bigots? That's the card they play when Bander bites back. He shoots. I'm not hating, I'm highlighting hypocrisy. Men in dresses demanding safe spaces while shouting down women's shelters. Equality, not erasure. Gasps punctuate the air. Viewers at home pausing their ironing to tweet furry or fandom. The split screen of support stark. Team Ricky trending with clips of his Netflix defenses. Stand with Denise surging as allies amplify her lived truths. Welch, cheeks flushing under the lights, counters with fire from her feminist frontlines. Erasure? Try erasure when women's voices get drowned by allies who prioritize pronouns over periods. But you, Ricky, with your platform, could uplift instead of undercut. It's a masterclass in escalation, each volley layered with Ricky Gervais referencing his afterlife arc where widow Tony's grief-fueled rants mirror his own post-mother loss musings. Welch weaving in her bipolar battles where careless comedy once tipped her into darkness. The other hosts, wise to the powder keg, attempt defusal. Ricky, tell us about Derek's heart a pure gold. Nolan pleads, but momentum's a monster, unstoppable. Gervais, voice steady but eyes alight, pivots to Welch's own controversies. Uplift, like your lockdown letters to Boris, calling restrictions tyranny. Bold, denies comedy's just my rebellion, same as your rants. She laughs, bitter-edged, rebellion with residuals. Love ya mine cost me mates and mentions. The intimacy of the insult stings. The studio a pressure cooker now, producers' faces pale behind the booth as ratings tick upward in real time. Then, the turn, talk snakes to animal rights, Gervais' vegan crusade clashing with Welch's admitted carnivore confessions. But it's a feint for the real haymaker. You mourn your mutts more than migrants, she accuses, referencing his tearful dog tributes versus sparse refugee knots. Comedy's compassion selective? Gervais recoils, the hit hitting home. Selective? I've donated millions to wildlife, but humans? We're the apex predators, a laugh or perish. The rhetoric ramps, words weaving webs of worldview. Gervais championing free speech as oxygen. Welch insisting on oxygen for the oxygen-starved. Her lockdown loss is a litany of lives upended by rules he ridiculed remotely. Overlap turns to opposition. Free speech ends where harm begins. She thunders, fist light on the table, harms in the hypersensitivity. He thumps back, nearly toppling. The audience, a microcosm of Middle England, splits audibly a cheers for him, whoops for hero while social feeds frenzy. Influencers dissecting dialects, psychologists pontificating on projection. In this maelstrom, vulnerability peaks. Gervais admitting a special's suicide joke stemmed from his brother's loss. Welch confessing a panel rant once masked panic attack, but empathy evaporates under intensity. Accusations flying like confessia, privilege, pain, pretense until the segment's overrun by 5 minutes. Ads delayed, the nation hooked. It's not just clash, it's catharsis. Two warriors wielding words as weapons and shields, exposing the fragility beneath fame's facade. As breaths heave and stares lock, the breaking point beckons, that fateful stride toward the door, not impulse but inevitability. Yet, in the ashes of argument, seeds of something profound steer dialogue, perhaps, or at least delicious drama. And as the dust settles on this verbal vortex, we turn to the immediate maelstrom it unleashed, where screens shattered with support and scorn in equal measure. The instant Gervais' chair scrapes back and his footsteps echo off the studio floor, the fallout detonates like a blockbuster finale, rippling from the loose women green room to global headlines in a heartbeat, transforming a midday mishap into a meteor strike. Off-camera, chaos reigns, producers swarm like bees from a kicked hive, Lampard ad-libbing a breezy well that was lively back after the break. As the feed cuts to a detergent jingle, but the damagia or dynamita is done. Gervais, jacket slung over shoulder, pauses at the door for a producer's plea. Ricky, chat off air? But waves it off with the right. Tell Denise dinner's on me if she foots the therapy bill, vanishing into the corridors where crew clap him on the back, murmuring legend amid the shock. Back on set, Welch slumps, exhaling a laugh tinged with tears. Bloody hell, girls, did I just boot Ricky Gervais? The panel dissolves into debrief, a Nolan hugging her, so while you're cracking next time, ask about his cats first. But beneath the banter, a buzz of unease, knowing this clip's already viral, slicing through servers like a hot wire. Sure enough, within minutes, X erupts, #Gervais walkout tops UK trends, garnering 500k tweets in the hour. A deluge of daggers and defenses. Fans rally to Ricky. Denise ambushed him like a Karen at Costco. #Free Ricky sharing montages of his stand-up salvos, while Welch's warriors wield screenshots of her mental health advocacy. She's calling out the clown, not canceling a #truth bomb. Mainstream media mobilizes. BBC News runs a ticker. Gervais storms off loose women amid row. The Sun splashes Ricky kicked in the teeth by loose Canadianese, complete with pap shots of him hailing a cab outside ITV Towers. Expression thunderous yet thoughtful. Talk Sport callers jam lines, splitting 60-40 for Gervais, decrying PC police on patrol, while Woman's Hour dissects it as toxic masculinity meets trailblazing testimony. Internationally, Variety wires UK comedy clash, Gervais vs. Welch goes nuclear? Hollywood insiders texting agency Ricky's radioactive agena as Netflix execs grin at the promo bump for Armageddon. Streams spiking 30% overnight. Brands brace. Gervais' Audible deal holds firm. His atheism podcast surging. But Welch fields flack from vegan influencers. A hypocrite much. Denise? A offset by solidarity from trans orgs thanking her spine. Personal ripples hit hard. Gervais holds up with Jane Fallon, his partner of 40 years. The novelist tweeting a cryptic laughter's the best revenge and the hardest while Welch FaceTime sons Maddie and Louie. Maddie posting a supportive Insta story. Mum's a lioness. Roar on. ITV switchboard melts. Complaints and commendations flooding 10-1 pro debate. Execs huddling in crisis mode. Ratings hit series highs. 2.1 million viewers. Up 40% from average. Proving controversy's currency. Pundits piling up. Piers Morgan, ex-Good Morning Britain bombast, blasts Welch as woke warrior gone wild on his YouTube empire, racking 1M views. Jamila Jamil counters on TikTok, praising Denise's feminist fire in a makeup-free rant that goes mega. Memes metastasize. Gervais photoshopped fleeing a stampede of pronouns. Welch as Xena wielding a mixed-sword. Parodies popping on TikTok with soundbites synced to dramatic scores. Late night echoes. Ida James Corden, stateside. Jokes on the late Ricky walked so I could run from loose women. While UK comics like James Acaster tweet nuanced knots, both right, both real. Comedies contact sport. Stakeholders scramble. Loose women teases a follow-up. Ricky responds? Segment. Producers dangling olive branches via email. But Gervais' camp leaks a polite no thanks. Got jokes to write. Backlash brews. Balanced anti-vaxxers hail Welch's grit. Atheists adore Gervais' gala fueling forum frenzies on Reddit's television. Threads dissecting dialogue down to decibels. Celebrities chime. Dawn French, Gervais ally. DMs Welch water under the bridge. Ducks. Colleen Rooney, soap sister, posts Denise slays. Always. By evening. It's cultural calculus. Did this divide or dialogue? Sponsors stay silent, but ad revenue soars, proving telly's truth the no bad buzz when it bleeds viewers. As night falls on London, Gervais unwinds with wine and wit, tweeting a single emoji. A McDropa clocking 2M likes, while Welch sips tea with Townley, musing stirred the pot. Worth the heat? The echo chamber hums. Hashtags harmonizing hate and huzzes, but beneath the noise, a narrative emerges, vulnerability valorized, voices vital. This wasn't ejection, it was ejection seat to enlightenment, propelling both into spotlight's stratosphere. Yet, as echoes fade, the enduring enigma lingers. So what does this melee mean for comedy's compass? For candor's cost? We'll navigate that next, charting courses corrected and convictions cracked in the clash's crimson wake.